Hello, and welcome to another exciting edition of Hidden in the Universal Vault. I'm Ron, your host. Well, I got good news. My headache's gone, so I can now fully pay attention to the next movie I just watched. And yeah, so I thought, you know what? And in celebration of the new Christopher Reeves documentary that is on now, the Christopher Reeves story, I thought we'd take a look at a movie starring Christopher Reeves, in a movie that I think, well, I'll just tell you right now, but the movie I'm taking a look at, he co-stars alongside Jane Seymour. This also has Christopher Plummer and Teresa Wright, released in 1980, Somewhere in Time. Now, Somewhere in Time is a movie I definitely heard of when I was rummaging through the list of Universal movies made in 1980, in the 1980s. This movie came out in the beginning of 1980. And what do I think of this movie? I'm going to tell you right now, this movie is a masterpiece from start to finish. And this is a great movie. Let's talk about Somewhere in Time. So, Somewhere in Time focuses on Christopher Reeves. He plays a man named Richard Collier. So he is a man who he's a writer. He writes stories, and he starts out with him as a college student in 1972. Then we cut to 1976, where he's trying to find clues of this woman. So 1972, while in college, this elderly woman, who eventually would become Jane Seymour's character in it. So basically what it is she hands him a pocket watch. I thought it was a locket at first, but it's a pocket watch. So the elderly woman is under the care of Teresa Wright, who plays the assistant to the elderly woman. So then we go to 1976, and he sees this pocket watch. So he goes to want to meet up with this woman, but Teresa Wright say, no, you don't want to. It's like, ma'am, please let me see. I have this. And then all of a sudden, Teresa Wright is pissed, and she's like, where did you get that? And then she just questions him. It's like, please, just let me in there and I'll explain. So now, he basically time travels. And he meets up with another guy who runs the hotel. He's actually played by John Alvin, I think it is. And if you watch his brief role in Home Alone, that's his character in that movie. But he plays Arthur, is what I meant to say. So that, and then he basically gets a new haircut, a brand new haircut. He dresses in 1900s attire because he's going back to 1912. So Arthur tells him, "Oh, I was there in 1905 when I was 5 years old." So now he dreams and hypnotizes him. He starts being schizo, then he hypnotizes himself, and you can see the curtains evolve, everything evolves, and instead of him being on the bed, he's now on a couch, and now he's like smiling because he's made it to 1912. So the gist of that is, there's a really nice scene where he's trying to hide so he doesn't get caught by people knowing. So it's kind of almost similar cross between elements of The Wizard of Oz and elements of Back to the Future Part 3, where the whole time travel. This also I wanted to mention is, this is actually written by Richard Matheson, based on a 1975 book. I believe it's called, Bid Time Return, eventually would become Somewhere in Time. So, also interesting fact, Richard Matheson appears in the movie as well, as a guy at the hotel telling Arthur, who is the elderly man, but he's the 5-year-old. Interesting enough, in the featurette, the actor actually showed the crew an old childhood photo of him as a young man, as a little boy, to make the design look accurate of him, of the real actor when he was a child. So that's really cool. I wanted to kind of mention some things. And yeah, so eventually he goes through all that. I gotta talk a lot about this because this movie is so good. From the performances to the cinematography, everything about it is great. I believe, sorry if I scratch my eye, but I believe, and I'm going to say this again, I'm not a big Superman fan, but after watching this movie, this is Christopher Reeves' best performance in his career. It really shows you going from playing a superhero to going to be a character actor. This is all about characters being characters. I don't think of him as Superman. I think of him as Richard. And he is so good in it. And this movie is very sad near that ending. The ending is what made me almost cry at this movie. Right now I'm teary-eyed. That ending right there, holy crap. Wow, I was like stone-faced. Like, I'm telling you, like, it is so sad. The love of his life, like, yeah, everything in this is great. You really do feel like, it feels like you are trapped inside that person's brain. And everything about it is just phenomenal. Also, I was kind of bummed that Teresa Wright didn't have that much of a role in this film. I was hoping she was going to have much more screen time with the film, being a little longer. But she was great in that too. And everything about it is just spot on. The cinematography is just great. Like the one scene I like at the beginning where he gets out and then the butler comes and he's like, excuse me, did you see where he went? It's like, oh yeah, the young chap went down that way. Yeah, they use the whole broken English. I don't think it's broken English because this movie was filmed in Chicago and Michigan. But yeah, I want to talk about who directed this. It was directed by Janat Schwartz, whose previous film at the time was Jaws 2 for Universal. That's one in the featurette. So that's what's his first movie. He's done some other movies, but wow. Christopher Plummer also plays her aide, assistant, something like that. But all the performances, like I said, are good. Interesting enough, the bad news about this movie was it was a bomb. This is also weird because this movie, this didn't get much publicity. And literally, Jane Seymour said this on a TCM interview. Here's what Jane Seymour had to say. I'll get back into the Somewhere Time wiki page. Here's what Jane Seymour actually said. It has a 52% Rotten Tomato. Here's the reception. I'm going to read what Wikipedia says in reception. What it says right here. Although the film was well received during its previews, like the trailer is really cool though. It didn't give away anything that much. It was derailed by critics upon release and underperformed at the box office. This movie bombed big time. Like I said, it has a 52% of Rotten Tomatoes, and it's a 5.9 out of 10 Metacritic. It's such a shame because this movie's great. Jane Seymour said in an interview, she said this quote, "Well, what happened is we finished the movie and we weren't allowed to publicize it." Yeah, this movie did not get publicity, and it's such a shame. It feels more like an indie film. And yeah, also this was during the 1980 actor strike that was going on in Hollywood. And yeah, that's weird because from what I'm reading right here, it says Chris and I were not allowed to tell anyone about the movie, and this time it came out. Plus, Universal spent $2 million or $3 million, sometimes very minimal. Yeah, and this movie came out when the first Blues Brothers movie, so it was competing against that. So that didn't help it either. So yeah, It didn't do well, and that's such a shame because this movie is amazing for what it is. Like, it's great. Also, it kind of feels like it definitely has a very Twilight Zone feel, but I actually would say this feels more like an extended episode of Amazing Stories. But this is before Amazing Stories would get released. But yeah, like I said, top notch, everything great. I would give. Is there any negative with the film? And I hate to say this, but despite, I can't give a negative because I think I wish Teresa Wright was in it more because I feel like there's an underrated actress. She made another movie before this eons ago with Shadow of a Doubt. So I kind of wish she had more screen time in this. But that's not a flaw. That is not a flaw. Everything about this movie is great. The ending is extremely gut punch of an ending. I'm not going to give away the ending. You're going to have to watch it to find out. But the ending is so powerful. It makes the audience think, what did I just watch? If you have to hold the audience hand like that, kind of like that, hold their hand. If they're going to cry, let them cry. I was almost about ready to cry. It made me think, what would have happened? I don't know, guys, but I'm going to tell you right now, after that, there's hardly any flaws with this. I think everything about Somewhere in Time is just incredible. I still think the stuff in the 70s looked 70s, but when they get to 1912, that's when it really picks up. And it, like I said, had this is my opinion. It had a little bit of an element of Wizard of Oz with the whole going back in time. Not to compare to Wizard of Oz, that's a total different beast. But Somewhere in Time just blows everything of what I said. This has now become my favorite Universal movie from the 80s. This is becoming my go-to movie when I want to watch Christopher Reeves. And I'm just going to tell you right now, Christopher Reeves, as an actor, I'm glad I sat through something other than just Superman. It's kind of like when I reviewed American Made with Tom Cruise. I kind of felt that same thing. But still, regardless, everybody is great. Jane Seymour is extremely gorgeous in this movie. The costume design when it gets to 1912 is just incredible. And at first he got kind of felt strange. He smiled and said, I can't believe it made it to 1912. I can't believe that. But then he's not used to it. He kept hiding and trying to avoid people. But after a while, he adapted to the 1900s lifestyle and just fell in love with that time period. And I'm harping that much. I'm going to tell you right now, guys, there is a 4K Kino Lorber coming out soon. So if you want to see this movie in 4K, it's available on Blu-ray. It's coming out of 4K. If you're Laserdisc VHS, if you like that, then yeah, please see this movie. I'm going to tell you right now, guys, do not sleep on Somewhere in Time. This movie right here is a true example of a cinematic masterpiece. This movie right here has a spot on my 10 best list at the end of the year. This is not honorable mentions. This is an automatic spot in the best list. That ending alone bumped it up from what I would give it. I originally had it on what I was going to originally give it, but due to that ending, it went back up. Because the only flaw I had, if it wasn't for that ending, the only flaw I had, like I said again, I wish Teresa Wright was in it more. But if you have not seen this movie, after that ending, it was like bumped up just like that. Bumped up a point. So yeah, that's really about it. So yeah, let's go ahead and get straight to it, guys. Let's rate this now. I'm going to give Somewhere in Time, you know what it's going to be rated, automatic 5 out of 5. This movie is a masterpiece, a cinematic masterpiece. This movie is how filmmaking should be about. And I do believe film schools should really watch this movie. Please, I'm telling you guys, do not sleep on this movie. Please see this movie. It is so good. It is not boring. The pacing is great. The cinematography, when it gets to 1912, is just amazing. Jane Seymour is excellent. Christopher Reeves is phenomenal. This is a movie that I felt he could have got a Best Actor nomination. Jane Seymour, same thing. Best Actress nomination. It is so good. It's just everything about this movie. I mean, you once you watch this movie, you're definitely going to fall in love with it. But yeah, I also forgot to mention the one scene I did like, though, like when he comes back, Christopher Plummer doesn't like Richard. So what he does is Richard walks two men, punches him, and basically he's in the farm, or I forget what it's called. So he's in there, and also another scene where he shows Seymour the penny, Jane Seymour's character Penny. You see a date of 1979, and then gets in this weird transition, and then she's like, Richard! And it flies, and then he starts crying, panicking. I'm going to leave it at that, because if I give away that ending, you guys aren't going to enjoy this more. You're going to have to watch it for yourself to see what I mean by that ending. But definitely check this movie out. It is definitely a must-watch and a cinematic masterpiece. So that's my review of Somewhere in Time. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you do like the content on the channel, like, comment, subscribe, click the bell, ring the bell to get all my video notifications so you can keep up with what Universal movie I review on the channel. So, yeah. Just please watch Somewhere in Time. It's definitely a must-watch for anybody that wants to check out cinematic art. So, yeah. And that's it. And as always, keep watching those Universal movies, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.